Hello students, I am Hasina Bibi, Assistant Professor CSE Department, Rohini College of Engineering and Technology. This is the video presentation for the subject Operating Systems, and we are going to see one topic, Direct Memory Access, from the first unit. Let us see the objectives of studying this topic. To understand the direct memory access operation, to describe the organization of multiprocessor and multi-core systems. Now let us start with input-output operations. Normally, our computer system will have many input-output devices. They are collectively called as input-output module. All the devices will be connected with the processor, and sometimes the data transfer will be takes place in between the processor and input output devices, sometimes in between the memory and input output devices, and the processor will do the necessary operations for the along with the input output devices. Sometimes processor will read the data from the input device, and sometimes processor will write the data into the output device. So all those kind of data transactions and processing operations performed in between the CPU, memory and input-output devices are called as input-output operations. There are three techniques are available to do the input-output operations. They are programmed input-output, interrupt-driven input-output, and the third one is direct memory access. The first one is programmed input-output. Programmed input-output means the input-output operations will be performed by the processor with the help of some particular input-output instructions available in the programs. Okay. The processor instructions will specify the particular input-output operations. The processor will do those operations accordingly as per in the instruction. When the processor is executing a program, it encounters an instruction. Whenever it encounters an instruction relating to the input-output operation, it will execute the instruction by giving the special commands to the appropriate input-output module. And then the input-output module means it consists of the input-output devices. When the input-output module receives the command from the CPU, it will perform the requested action, and every input-output device will have one register called as status register. Normally, input-output devices will have two types of register. First one is data register, which is used to store the data, and second one is status register, which is status register consists of one status bit. The bit is used to represent whether the device is currently doing any operation, whether the device is currently busy or free. Okay. So whenever the CPU wants to do some operation with any input output device, the CPU will check the status of the device by checking the status register, and the CPU will know about the device status, whether the device is free, whether the device is ready to do the operation with the CPU, or whether the device is doing some other busy operations. So if the device is engaged in the previous some other operation, the CPU will wait until the device becomes free. So to intimate the status of the device, status register is used. Okay. So whenever the input-output module receives the command from the CPU, it will perform the requested action and sets the appropriate bit in the status register. Then the CPU, after completing the operation, the CPU will do the execute the next instruction. So the processor periodically checks the status of the input-output module until it finds the operation is complete. Okay. So whenever the input-output device start with one operation, it will change the status bit into status bit to show the busy state. Okay, so after completing, so while doing the operation, the status will be in a busy state. After the device completes the operation, the status bit will be changed into the zero. It will be changed into 0. 0 means the device has completed the operation, or the device is ready for the next operation. Okay, so the processor will periodically check the status of the input output device, whether it have completed the assigned task. Okay, so in the programmed input, in this way the operations will be performed in between the processor and the input output module. So in this particular method, the processor have to wait for a long time for the input output module to complete its operation and to be ready for the next transmission, since the speed of the input output module is much lesser than the processor speed. So here the processor have to wait for more time for the input output module. As a result, the performance of the entire system will be degraded. And the second method is interrupt driven input output. In this method, whenever the input output module requests the operation or the request the service from the CPU, it will interrupt the processor by sending the interrupt signal, and the CPU will satisfy the request sent by the device, and the CPU will do the necessary operation. Okay, so the input output module will interrupt the processor to request for a particular service when it is ready to exchange the data with the processor, and the processor will execute the data transfer and then resume its former processing. Okay, so this is the normal interrupt mechanism we have studied in the previous topic. Okay, so when the CPU is interrupted by a device, CPU will stop its current instruction execution, and the execution control will goes to the interrupt program. Interrupt program is otherwise called as interrupt routine, which is the code corresponds to the particular device which has sent the interrupt signal previously. Okay, so in this way the input output operation will be accomplished by the CPU for a particular input output device. Also, this method also having some drawbacks, that is, input output transfer data is limited by the speed with which the processor can test and service a device, and the number of instructions many number of instructions must be executed for each input output transfer. And so to overcome the disadvantages of the previous methods like programmed input output and interrupt driven input output, one enhanced method is used that is called as direct memory access. With the help of direct memory access, large volumes of data can be moved in between the devices and the memory with the efficient technique. In the DMA mechanism, there is a controller will be used to conduct the DMA data transfer, that is called as DMA controller. Okay, so in DMA it transfers the block of data between the memory and peripheral devices without the participation of processor. Traditionally, the processor will be the controller of the system bus. So the processor is called as bus master. That is, the entire control of the system bus will be present in the processor. Whenever any device wants to communicate with the memory, whenever any device wants to share data into the memory, it will get the access of the system bus and it will get the permission from the CPU. So, but with the help of DMA, all those input output operations will be conducted by the DMA module without the participation of processor. Okay, so this DMA will conduct the data transfer in between the input output modules and the memory on behalf of CPU. Now we can see the working of DMA. Whenever the processor wants to perform the DMA operation with the help of DMA module, actually the DMA operation will be requested by any one particular input output device. Okay, whenever a device wants to transfer the data into the memory, that particular input output device will send the DMA request to the processor. Now the processor will initiate the DMA module to perform this particular DMA operation. So the processor will give the control of the system bus to the DMA module. Along with that, the processor will issue the command to the DMA module. Along with that, the DMA processor will send some necessary details about the data transfer to the DMA module. Those details are whether the read or write is requested, which type of data transfer is want to perform. That is, whether the read means reading the data, taking the data, whether to take the data from the memory, or whether the input output device wants to write the data into the memory. Okay, this particular what type of operation is needed will be intimated to the DMA module by the processor, and the address of the device, input output device, will be sent to the DMA module. The starting memory location on which the input output device wants to do either read or write operation, so that starting memory addresses will be sent to the particular DMA module, and the number of words to be read or written, how much amount of data is going to be transferred. So all these particular details will be sent to the DMA module by the processor, so that the DMA module can handle the data transfer operation in between the device and the memory. Okay. Then after handovering the operation work to the DMA module, the CPU will continue with its normal work, and the DMA module will perform the data transfer operation, and the DMA module will transfer the entire block of data one word at a time directly to or from the memory without going through the processor, without the help of processor. Now the DMA module will transfer the data in between the CPU input output devices and the memory, and when after the completion of the operation, it will intimate the completion of the work to the processor by sending one interrupt signal to the processor. Okay, so the processor it is enough to involve only at the beginning of the operation and at the ending of the operation. In between that, all the operations will be handled by the DMA module. Okay, so after completion, the DMA module will intimate the processor by sending one signal, interrupt signal. So we are seeing the diagram. In the first diagram shows the input output operation with the help of programmed input output. Here, as we told in the theoretical topic, CPU will issue the command to the input output module. After that, the input output module CPU will know about the status of the input output module by checking the status register present in the input output device. After that, if the device is ready, by checking the status, CPU comes to know whether the device is ready or not. If the device is not ready, the CPU will be waiting for the device. If the device is ready, then the CPU will perform the data transfer with the particular input output device. Whether sometimes the data from the input output devices will be read into the CPU. That is, the data from the input output device will be transferred into the CPU, and after that the CPU will write those data into the memory. Okay, so this is normally happened in the first method. And in the second method, whenever any input output device wants to perform the data transfer operation, it will give the request to the CPU by sending the interrupt. Here also, whenever the CPU ready to communicate with the input output device, it will issue the command to the input output module, and before starting the data transfer to the particular input output device, the CPU will check the status of the device, whether it is ready to receive or send the data. When the device is ready, the CPU will send the data to the input output device, or receive the data, read the data from the input output module. And after reading the data from the input output module, the CPU will write the data. Here data is called as word. Word is nothing but the data word. Okay, so after reading the data word from the input output module, all those data words will be written into the memory. Okay, so here only difference in the interrupt driven input output is any input output device will get the service of the CPU, use the CPU by sending the interrupt signal to the CPU. Okay, by seeing the interrupt signal only, the CPU will comes to know about the input output device is requesting for one particular data transfer operation. And in the third method, we already studied direct memory access method. The CPU will not involve in the data transfer. Instead, the DMA module will conduct all the data transfer, but initially the DMA transfer will be initiated by the CPU only. The CPU will send all the necessary details about the data transfer to the DMA module. After that, DMA module will do all the data transfer operations. Finally, the DMA will intimate the completion of the work to the CPU by sending one interrupt. That's all about the direct memory access. Now we are going to see the topic multiprocessor and multi-core organization. Multiprocessor means normally with a single processor system, the processor can execute the instructions one at a time, isn't it? The instructions will be executed in a sequential fashion. Each instruction will be executed one at a time, so that to improve the parallelism, that is, after that the computer designers tried to improve the parallelism. Parallelism means executing multiple operations at a time, and to improve the performance, the multiprocessor and multi-core organizations were established. Okay, here the different ways of providing the parallelism, execution parallelisms are symmetric multiprocessors, multi-core computers, and clusters. First one is multiprocessor system. Multiprocessor system means using more than one processor in a system so as to improve the performance of the system by executing the operations parallelly in different processors. Okay, so the multiprocessor system can also be classified into symmetric multiprocessing system and asymmetric multiprocessing system. Asymmetric multiprocessing system means the processors will be of different types. They will be doing the different task. Okay, here each processor will be assigned with the specific task, and one processor will act as the boss processor. That is, the boss processor will control all other processors. The boss processor only will assign the task to the other processor. Other processors are called as worker processors. Okay, the worker processor will obey the instructions given by the boss processor. So this scheme is called as boss-worker relationship. And also the boss processor only will schedule and allocate the work to the worker processors. So this is happened in the asymmetric multiprocessing system. In the symmetric multiprocessing system, here also the individual processors will be assigned with the task, and here all the scheduling and the controlling operations will be performed by the operating system. Here no boss worker relationship exists in between the processors. Okay, all processors will be worked individually. No one will control others. Okay, operating system only will control other processes. Okay, and the characteristics are there are two or more similar processes will be there. Here all the processor will share the same main memory and the input output facilities, and the processors are connected through the bus with the other main memory and the input output devices, and the connectivity will be established, and the all the processor will share the common resources through same channels or through different channels. Here all processor can perform the same functions. Okay, then they are controlled by the operating system, and the different task or the job will be assigned by the operating system. Here we are seeing the diagram of symmetric multiprocessor system. Here n number of processors are there. Each processor will have its own cache memories, that is individual cache memories are there for the processor. L1 cache is there, L2 cache is there, but they are sharing the main memory and the input output subsystem. Now let us see about the multi-core computers. Okay. Multi-core computers means is otherwise called as chip multiprocessor. Here more than one processors are integrated on a single piece of silicon chip. Okay, more than one processors are integrated on a single piece of silicon chip. Okay, so that is called as core multi-core. Each core consists of all the components of independent processors like registers, ALU, pipeline hardware, control units, and the level 1 cache memory. Okay, some cores will have additional cache memory levels like level 2 cache, and some other core processor having level 3 cache memory. So the additional levels are added to the cores to increase the performance of the chip. And here we are seeing on real-time example, that is Intel Core i7 processor, which consists of 4 8086 processor, and each core will have the dedicated L2 cache memory, and one cache memory level 3 L3 cache memory is shared among all the core processors. Okay, and here we can see the diagram: core 0, core 1, core 2, core 3. 4 cores are there. Core memories having dedicated level 1 cache, level 2 cache. Each cache memories will have its own capacity and speed levels, memory capacities, and the L3 cache is common, sharing to, which is shared by all the different cores. And for the communication and the different cores will be communicated to each other, the communication will be supported by two concepts. That is, first one is DDR3 memory controller, second one is QPI. Okay, the different cores will be communicated by two forms. First one is DDR3 memory controller, second one is quick path interconnect. So DDR3 means double data rate. Here 3 channels will be available. Double data rate is actually it is on memory chip. Okay, so it is used to transfer the data. It acts as the channel to transfer the data in between the different chips. And each channel, there are 3 channels will be there in the DDR memory controller, and their data rate is 32 GB per second. And another one point to point link is there, QPI, that is quick path interconnect, link which enables high speed communication in between the processor chips, and their speed is 6.4 GT per second. Now let us see the possible university questions in these topics. First one is, what are all the different ways to perform the input-output operation by the CPU? There are three categories. First one is programmed input-output. Second one is interrupt-driven input-output. Third one is direct memory access, DMA transfer. Explain the DMA operation. We have to explain the DMA operation in step-by-step manner. Describe the multiprocessor and multi-core organization. That's all about the topic. Thank you all.